is with us filming for PAC-B TV. And if you want to watch any of these presentations or recommend any of them to your friends or family, they can see them on our website, schroeppelhistory.com, along with, you can Google them on YouTube. Yes. Yes. So some upcoming things. Put my glasses on. Our annual blueberry sale and bake sale is Saturday, July 26th. It starts at 10 o'clock until 2 or till the blueberries are gone. You can order pails for $25. This is like a big deal if you've not ever bought them before. They're usually scrumptious. And you can email Barb Dix at bjdix9@gmail.com. I also set up an order sheet if you want to not bother emailing her. You can sign up tonight if you'd like to order any and pick them up Saturday the 26th. Okay. Pints and quarts will be here. You don't have to pre-order those. And we're asking our members to do blueberry baked goods, home baked goods, because we also have the bake sale. Okay. Our next program is Tuesday, August 19th at 7 o'clock. We always do the third Tuesdays of the month. Elaine Peters will present a program on, Steve, what's the title?
She's a Jordan Village historian. It's called Beneath Our Feet, What Archaeology Can Tell Us About Our Past. So she conducts archaeological digs and then presents the findings.
Okay.
She did one on the Erie Canal recently.
Okay. And in September, the third Tuesday night, our plans are to present a photo display of Phoenix after the fire. And Barb Dix will narrate it for us and explain to us what we're looking at. So that'll be interesting if you know the Phoenix area. We do have membership forms available. If you're not a member, we'd love to add to our membership. Janet, where are they?
I put them around on chairs or
Okay.
I use them right there.
Oh, right here, yeah. Thank you. You will note there's donation jars, one here and one there, and any little thing that you can help us with. We have a number of repairs that need to be made and renovations that we would like to do here in this ancient building. So also there's a table in the back with some things that we sell, maps of Schroeppel, maps of Phoenix from the 1800s. And we do still have the 1909, I think it is, Grips, 1902 Grips book of Phoenix and vicinity. And this is chocked full, it's a reprint, we did a reprint on the original. It's chocked full of pictures of people, homes as they looked, and they're all labeled as to who people are, who the homes are, the organizations back in 1902 or before. As a matter of fact, right there is a picture blown up that's in the book of our founding fathers. And in the book, somebody came in the other day and said, gee, we didn't know who to tell them who was in the picture. Well, it's like right on page 10 and all their names are there. So this is really a handy book to have. These are $25 if you would like one. And so tonight we have Lisa Saunders with us, and she's not been here before, right? To do a program?
No, this is my first time.
So this is exciting. And she's a local author of history, and she's also, I have to write, a Canalway Challenge ambassador.
Yes.
And you can ask her questions about that later if you're interested. And so I don't want to take up any more time.
recently moved from Mystic, Connecticut to here, right before the pandemic hit, to be near families. Both of our families are from here. So we thought we were going to have a real crazy adventure in Mystic. I was going to sail and write a book about it. And what happened was I abandoned ship after only the first day. After blogging about it for like months, getting ready for it, taking coastal navigation courses, I did everything so that I wouldn't be the least useful on the ship, because those are the ones that get eaten first, if we got cast adrift. Anyway, it was so embarrassing, so we had to leave Mystic, and we moved here, and now we live in Baldwinsville, and I don't need to go over this map because there's Phoenix. Baldwinsville's right under Phoenix, and I'm looking at this trail, and I'm thinking about it, maybe. And so I learned all about the active Erie Canal, the man-made, the natural ward, because I kept seeing Erie Canal, everything was the Erie Canal. I'm like, how is that this ditch in Erie Canal, but this other thing is also the Erie Canal. So I learned that there are 3, editions of the Erie Canal, and I learned about, I thought that was interesting, like why here in upstate New York, and I learned that the Mohawk River Valley is what provides the break in the Appalachian Mountains. So I thought that was interesting to learn that. This is in Little Falls. So like I said, I felt, okay, I could be an adventurer here at Lock 24, which is where I live near, and because it's the second busiest lock in the state and around the canal, and I told all my friends in Mystic, oh, it's really exciting here, and they all yawned because, they're used to sailing and really dangerous things like to the Bermuda Triangle and back, so they weren't impressed. So I tried to tell them how exciting it was, that this was basically the internet of its day when it was completed, and I like history, so when I found out that that the canal still uses V-shaped gates designed by Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci, I thought that was cool. So at least my historical friends, like I used to work at Mystic Seaport as a historical interpreter, and so those friends were starting to get a little interested, especially since boats were made in Baldwinsville, these, not big sailing ships, but anyway. So I learned a bunch of stuff that you all know about Clinton's Ditch and when it was completed and the aqueducts. My friends in Mystic didn't know what an aqueduct was, so I finally was able to explain that. And I did think it was interesting how transportation became faster and cheaper, because I was always interested in how people no longer had to round Cape Horn, because of modern canalways through there. And I thought this was very interesting, the canal ride with our governor, with the governor on the Seneca Chief on a PAC-B boat. So I thought the murals were very helpful in teaching me the history. And I read his speech when he reached New York Harbor, and he said, "May the God of heavens and earth smile most propitiously on the work and render it subservient to the best interests of the human race." So I thought that's pretty powerful, that there's that kind of hope for what this could do. And if you think about it, even Congress thinks the historic canal is cool, and that's why they established the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor in 2000, because it advanced issues like slavery and women's rights. And that's Harriet Tubman.
You didn't do it without a lot of pushing.
Oh, right.
It's not as easy as you make it sound.
What, the canal or pushing women's rights?
Pushing the canal with the National Heritage Corridor.
Oh, yeah, see, I wasn't here when that happened. Why, were you part of making that happen? So that could be another talk, like how they got that to happen.
It took a lot of pushing and prodding.
Well, I think it's a really great idea, because it gave us the inspiration to do this, especially the women's rights issue, because I'll tell you about that later. So I was just interested in the Civil War, because my family from this area fought in the Civil War. I have their letters, and I imagined them taking these canals. And what I really loved learning about were mules. So this is my mule, Sal, who came with us on this journey. Because I was always terrified of my horse or pony. My grandparents' farm was in Sodas area, if you know where that is, in Wayne County. Anyway, first, I came, it was 5, they bought me a pony. Oh, that was horrible. I was so scared. And then they got me a horse, and I just, the thing was always bugging me off, and I was miserable. And, because I was from New York City at the time, I rode elevators, not horses. But then I started learning about these mules that really made this a wonderful thing. And I just thought, okay, that's interesting. It's not a horse, so maybe I don't need to be as afraid of it. It's the offspring of a female horse, a donkey. And I learned that they walked 6-hour shifts around the clock, rain or shine. And I thought it was interesting that mules don't scare easily. And because I've been bucked off many a time on a horse, I thought, well, gee, maybe that's a pretty cool thing. That they don't scare as easily by sudden noises or whatever. They don't drink contaminated water. So I thought, well, that makes it easier, I guess, to keep the mule healthier. If there's any farmers here and I'm like making this up, you can interrupt. But this is stuff I read. And I read their skin was less sensitive to sun and rain, and they have harder hooves, and they can carry more weight and eat less. So I do feel like a lot of affection. And although I think this looks like a donkey, but they sold it to me as a mule at the visitor center. But anyway, and so according to the Kanawha Trail laws, walkers have to yield to equestrians. So somebody riding a mule is an equestrian. So they still rule, as far as I'm concerned, the Canal Way Trail anyway. So I learned all about the trail and learned the cities that it links, and I thought that was very interesting. Some of them I'd never heard of. I didn't even know how to pronounce till the other day. Water Valet, okay, and Cohoes, like I was saying Cohoes, like wow, it's Cohoes. So, and we learned how to pronounce Medina, right? It's not Medina. So every time we would stay in a new town, as we tackled a new section, people were making fun of us, the restaurant owners, until I could say the name. So brave folks, this is the hardest way to do the entire Erie Canal, which is to kayak, and that is me kayaking. Lori right here, she took that picture of me in a kayak. That is my next goal, not to do the half-pole canal, but to at least do 15 miles, because you can break up the challenge. You still get like a sticker, even if you just do a mile, okay? I wanted to do the 360 so that I could get a cool t-shirt like this and become an ambassador, But anyway, we walked the 360-mile trail because we didn't have a boat, we didn't have a friend with a boat, and we didn't have time to get lost at sea because we were helping taking care of my mother and my grandkids. So this was a project we could do about once a month. Most end-to-enders bike the trail, even Santa, and I thought that was a cute picture. And in fact, I read about how a group from Colgate biked the entire trail from Buffalo to Albany in 39 hours total, and they never slept, never stopped. I think that's pretty interesting. So walking meant we did go through a lot of sneakers because your feet get so sore. I learned you have to change sneakers every day, wear a different pair the next day. I don't have to throw out the ones, but you have to keep changing it up, and we did go through a lot of pairs because you're supposed to get rid of your sneakers every, I forget, miles, whatever. And walking had its advantages because then we would, just read all the plaques because we were taking our time. So that was fun, and you could meet the cats. And this cat didn't really enjoy being on the trail. It was the first time that the owners took it on the trail, but it was cute. And we had a women's rights issue to spread, so I thought this is perfect because we try to make it known. We want women of childbearing age to know about cytomegalovirus, or CMV, and so we were leaving these little rocks along the entire trail, like Hansel and Gretel with our little thing, and it has it in the back how to prevent it from happening to your pregnancy. So you don't want to share drinks with toddlers or food, and don't kiss them on the mouth. This is how the leading viral cause of birth defects is handed down to your unborn child. So this was our goal, to use it as a women's rights issue, and to get, and also Congress declared that women should be counseled about CMV, so I was trying to tie in Congress and get them excited that they not only have this heritage corridor, they've also asked people to spread awareness. So we can only join towpath travelers about a day or two a month. So we knew it was going to take a long time. And there I am in my Stop CMV shirt. You know, that's the kind of stuff I would wear to get attention. We had already started, but I think I saw this sign, I don't know, it even might have been in Fulton with the Canalway Challenge sign. I was like, oh, wait a minute, you know, I can sign up and what does that get me? But I thought it was fun because, like I said, I need to be known as completing something so I can erase my past from Mystic. So I thought this could be sort of proof. I mean, I trust you to be honest because I could have just said I did it. But anyway, my husband here, he always tells the truth. So anyway, this is how you keep track of your progress. I registered us. Our title that I gave for our team, Lisa and Jim Saunders, to Stop CMV, number 1 birth defects virus, was way too long because it doesn't come out of my certificate at the end. So just as a note, in case you're going to do it. And so then I could record the miles that day and I would put where we parked, because keeping track of that, if you don't go back for months later, you kind of might forget, oh, where did we park? Because a lot of times we're parking in random places hoping not to get caught because there weren't enough parking spaces, because we only wanted to walk 8 to 10 miles max. So that means we needed like real parking at a minimum every like 5 miles. So we're asked, what are your favorite sites visited? So I thought that was just a good exercise. Like, you know, I thought Port Byron Lot 52 is cool because it has the picture in front of it. So you can see what that looks like. So you can kind of time travel in your mind. And I thought this was cool. Ice skating in the same area that the canal went through. And people of old ice skated. They didn't count as what I'm going to call the 7 wonders, but I decided that Jim and I would try to come up with the 7 wonders of the trail. Those 2 didn't count, but again, there's so many interesting things. So we began in Camillus, and that's a great place to start because it's the exact center on the trail. So at least according to their signs, and I guess I believe them. So Jim's pointing to it, where we are. You guys can ask me questions or interrupt anytime, doesn't bother me. I love that place because there's a million signs to read, and we go back a lot because it's on our way to the movie theater. So we learned lots of fun facts, such as on this site in 1897, 97, nothing happened. So that's why the mule's really sad. So this was kind of fun, like canal drain open, and I've never seen that before. So we were watching the canal, you can tell we went in all seasons because we had to go when nobody needed us. And I loved how people were trying to make money on the trail. Like this is supposedly an eerie mansion that's historically haunted. Whether it was or wasn't, I don't know, but it was $20 for the tour, and I would have taken it just to use the bathroom because that's a really hard thing to find. And some signs are super helpful because there can be like construction or certain things that you're standing there, which way do we go? And so some people would do this kindness and put up their own thing. And I thought that was nice because of Van Buren in the town, they remind you to share. So Jim and I shared when we saw that, but I don't know who I'm sharing the road with because we're not on a road, but anyway. And this is just those reminders of homeowners who get a little irritated that this is running by their property. So stay on the trail or stay home. And some of these signs were so welcoming. This sign says water and bathroom. I can't tell you what that means to me to see the bathroom sign. And look at this person, free water, and they set up that cooler. And that was just really nice because there are some times, I'll show you a slide, we were desperate for water. And this sign wasn't so friendly. Due to price increase of ammo, do not expect a warning shot. So we carefully walked through there, and in searching for the 7 wonders, we did face many challenges. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a torrential downpour. And this was the days before we figured out we should bring umbrellas. And flooding. And all I could think of as we're having, because we can't like turn around and go back, we're there, we have the time. So we had to walk through with our sneakers, and so then we started bringing extra socks, because all I could think about was Jim's uncle, I don't know, he was in a tank in Germany or something, and he got trench foot. So I always thought that was an interesting disease to have, but I didn't want to have it. And he said, you need to have dry socks. And of course, locked outhouses were very sad. And Jim would have to look the other way. And he did. He didn't peek. Of course, this would scare the heck out of me. And they would scare me all the time. This is for just cold. This is not because it was COVID. It was just, we were downtown Syracuse at this part, and I think it was one of those 20 below with wind chill. It was cold. Ice was probably the toughest thing we faced, but we bought ice cleats, and they really worked. So, and they're easy to carry. These little cleats, we'd stick them in our backpack. So that is a sheet of ice that you see Jim about to walk on. This was hard. Sorry, we're closed. See the sad mule again? I mean, not only in winter is a lot of stuff closed in upstate New York, but it was COVID. So we faced starvation. Doesn't he look hungry? He looks really worried. So I learned how to make hardtack because I thought, well, soldiers were always eating hardtack on the trail. So to buy it on Amazon was like $70 for a pack. I'm like, well, I can make it. It's flour and water and salt if you want it. So I made it. And I dipped it in coffee. It is as hard as they say, and it's pretty tasteless. So I decided that's not what we were going to live on. So we just learned to live on trail mix. So we would eat that for hours. And snow, of course, was a challenge. I got snowshoes and learned to snowshoe with Lori down here, who makes me go to Beaver Lake. And they don't do a thing, I don't think. You just sink in the snow and drag it around. I don't get it. Maybe I don't have the right kind. And you can't really swing, when you've got snowshoes on. So we just trudged on in our warm boots, just pushed through the snow. But the snowshoes were, like I said, the cleats really tackled most, although snowshoes are good if the snow is hard and crusty, if you have to do that. This was, I think, the toughest part, aside from the bathroom, was finding a bench. It is miles in some sections without some bench honoring the memory of some poor person that I really appreciate those benches. And one time we were so desperate, the only bench in the hot beating sun was next to a dead opossum with maggots all over and flies, and it really smelled, but when your back and your knees are killing you, you sit there. So aching feet, this is what our feet felt like a lot of the time. So we learned to carry our own chairs. Like I had a cane with those seats, it turns into a seat, so I would bring that sometimes. Jim had a backpack that turned into a seat when you take it off. And the summer death marches, that was actually probably even worse than the ice. It was so hot, and we're always making this evaluation. Do we want to weigh our backpacks down with more water, or do we hope we can survive until we get back to our car? And in this time, we did not bring enough water that you see here. And a man came toward us in jeans and a black shirt, hot. It looked like he was dying, and he said, "Can I please buy your water, any water?" And I showed him, I said, "I have a sip. I'm really sorry." So I still feel guilty. I don't know if he's alive today, but we saw him on the way back, a couple hours later. I said, "What'd you do?" He goes, "I drank from a brook." So, and you're near a farm? I don't know. Mosquitoes and biting flies. They weren't bad all the time, but they were terrible, like in Jordan, actually. Is that where we were chased by a swarm? But again, it was kind of dumb when we went. It was morning after a heavy rain, so everything's really damp. They were chasing us, biting through our clothes. So I really can picture those canal workers digging through like Montezuma, like the mosquitoes that they had to face must have been absolutely horrible. But when we're not fighting to survive, we actually did enjoy the beauty, because of course there's a lot of beauty. And here we are walking west at sunset. East as the fog rolls in. And this is the most beautiful sight of all. Any open restaurant was a thrill. knows PAC Pizza. That little thing that looks like a gas station, that was actually a restaurant, and that was just wonderful, and that was in Clyde, and they had a little waitress and a couple of tables, and all these hunters would go there and say, have you seen any deer? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not gonna tell you where, you know, so I was with the wild crowd that was out there hunting. This, you might have all seen, this is in Memphis. This is beautiful. They're like, sitting there, and then somebody planted this beautiful garden in loving memory of Brian McNeil. Any uncomfy seat was actually fine. Here we are just sitting on rocks or the guardrails. And it really was Shangri-La when you get to a visitor center with a bathroom. And we're, you know, we tell the staff what we were doing. Oh, you're so wonderful. So we felt wonderful. And this is the place where I bought this. And I didn't tell, it was a fundraiser for them. And I didn't tell them it really looks like a donkey because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. But anyway. This is a beautiful sight. A friend with a car willing to drive us back to our car. Because most of the time we double back. So we've really walked the state twice, pretty much. Finding parking could be difficult. That's our car right there. So since we weren't sure sometimes where we were parking, we had a sign in our window, in our dashboard. We hope it's okay to park here. We are walking the Canalway Trail. If a problem, please call our cell phone. So nobody ever called us, so it was all fine. These were Jim's favorite sites. I don't drink beer, but I still appreciated his enthusiasm. And my ancestor that actually was one of the engineers on the canal, he brewed beer, he distilled whiskey, so it makes me just think of the history of the place. This is probably our favorite brewery that we go to all the time because it's close in Weedsport, and it's right on the trail. And Jim and I are always sitting there, he's drinking his beer, I eat a lot of pizza, and we see all these really buff bikers take a break that are biking the trail. They're all hard rock thin, you know, and we're sitting there all chubby, eating and drinking. Because people think, oh, you must have lost a lot of weight. I'm like, well, we only did a couple days a month, and then we would eat constantly because we're so hungry. And it gave us something to do at night because some of these towns there's nothing to do. So here's another brewery. We were freezing just to have a fire. It was just so welcoming. This isn't exactly on the trail, but it's certainly worth a trip because it's kind of like a mini museum. It's very beautiful. And then the falls right behind you, the Genesee Brew House. We love Little Falls a lot, not only because they had a brewery, but we stayed in this, we slept here in this stone building. They used to make the wool for the uniforms for the Union Army, and it's just really old, and you can tell the stairways, just everything is really old about it. Of course, I like the fact that this was kind of where people would get their beer, is at the Erie House, and I was told that the 15-cent button was worn down because that's where, I guess, a growler would cost 15 cents in those days. At least that's what I was told at the Erie House Saloon. We never got to go there. It does not look fun, Richardson Canal Tavern. I just thought that looked fun. So anyway, we would talk about what should be the 7 wonders of the canal. And so clearly the Flight of 5. Has everyone been there in Lockport or haven't been there? Because that's a thrill, I think, to see those deep canals, and then the ones that they took five locks, to get to where you needed to be. And it's the old beside the new. And Syracuse Waylock building, I thought that was so interesting that they had a replica canal boat in where they would have been weighed. So I thought that was very interesting. And this in Little Falls, it was once the highest lift lock in the world. And the Camillus, the aqueduct, I could never really understand how an aqueduct worked until I saw the reconstruction of this one. So you can see the wood under my friend Cindy here. So I finally got it, how it works, and why it rots away first and what you see. And of course the lift bridges I thought were cool. And the movable dams. Richmond Aqueduct, couldn't quite decide if that should be on the list because you kind of have to take a side trail to see it in the Seneca River. And I thought dry docks were very interesting. These are in Lyons. But I figured, well, maybe the old ones, the historic ones, had to count more as a wonder, because I think there's a lot of dry docks along the modern canal. Upside down bridge, I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it's true, but I was told that it was built to limit the size of boats that could use the Erie Canal, so they would put the truss positioned upside down. Don't know if that's true. Does anybody know the answer to that? Because it doesn't sound right to me, but anyway. And the tiny lock tender's house, I thought that was really cool. And I made the mistake of saying people lived in there, but the historian there in Jordan said, no, they didn't. So that ruined my life. I had to fix my book that I wrote. I just wrote, it is basically just my slides and extra information. So I fixed it so that they worked in these tiny houses. And I thought Mural Mania deserved to be a wonder. I loved all the murals I saw. Most of them seem to be in central New York. So, of course, many of them star Sal. And you really need them in some towns like Weedsport, where the canal no longer runs, because I love looking at the buildings, what was in there and what still exists. That really helps you visualize it. I would love this one where Lincoln was there at the train station in Clyde. And we happened to go there exactly 160 years to the day that he stopped in Clyde. So I just thought that was special. And we're cold, you can see, I'm peeking out there. And he made a little speech. He just came out and said just a few words. And because I was interested in Mural Mania, I contacted the guy that runs it, Mark DeCracker, and I told him that I found out my ancestors, Augustus Leach, was an engineer, and his father was an engineer on the first and second canal, Augustus on the second canal, and he was really excited. He said, let's paint them on our next mural. So that was really fun. So I went to visit them one day when a travel lady, Travels with Darley, she was there, that's her. She came, they taught me how to paint little yellow flowers, and so I got to paint on it, and she interviewed Corey, who's the main artist on that one, and he has PTSD, and he just kind of talked about how painting a mural is having a little section to worry about. You don't worry about the rest of the world, you're worrying about that section, and I thought, well, that has a lot to do with us walking the trail. We're not thinking how we lost our daughter. We're thinking we're doing something good. I think the canal puts people in a happy place. And there's the mural now, as it is, with my ancestors and lions, and they're on the trail. So I'm going to take our grandkids to see it. And I go visit my dead relatives right there, and I visit them in lions. And like I was saying to some of you, like you guys, I love dead people. They don't argue with you. You can tell their story the way you want to, and they don't sit there and try to correct it. Whenever I tell a story, Jim says, wait a minute, that's not exactly how it happened. So my dead relatives, they just let me go with the flow. So we always wondered when this would ever end, because we've been doing that since 2020. Like, when is this? This is every time we had a free time, it wasn't like, oh gee, let's do something super fun. We always had to get in the canal, put a poncho on, and slog through the wilderness. But we trekked on because we had our mission to stop CV, and I was trying to get a bill passed to provide prevention education. And these are some of the reasons why I do it. These are the rocks we left behind, like I said, and the little girl you see, that's the daughter of the mom who paints them. And she likes to watch her mom paint. So it's kind of a way I've met other families of kids who have congenital CMV along the way, and we all work together. And I had an event in Lyons, again, all through meeting people on the trail. So we held this event, a legislator came, he came to co-sponsor Elizabeth's Law. It was named after our daughter. And he was thrilled to meet his family, so it made a big impact on him to see this. Now, another reason, the Erie Canal has really been in my imagination ever since I started remembering being in upstate New York to see my grandparents for a month every summer, is because my Aunt Rebecca drove herself into the canal. And I always heard that story of how Aunt Rebecca drove into the canal. And I always wondered, where in the canal, why did she do that? And nobody would really tell me, except that it was ruled a suicide. So now that I lived up here and had time to dig around, I found out that she drove into the canal, or was driven, I think it's still a mystery, in the Brockport area. And her body was found in 1941, like a couple days after she, like 4 days after she went in. The same year we were attacked by Pearl Harbor. So Jim and I, reading the newspaper accounts of where they found her body, I figured out about where in the road that her car, it was a coupe, she was in a two-door hardtop car, where it was found. And the top of her coupe was damaged above, which I thought was weird at that time of year. And her body was under the steering wheel. Again, I just thought that was a little weird. So I contacted the sheriff's office and can I see the what's that, autopsy? And they're like, well, there's nothing to see. You know, I'm not an immediate family member. I'm like a great niece. Anyway, I still thought it was a little suspicious. My family always said she would never have done that. That's what I had heard. Anyway, so I went to the ramp where she probably went in, because once I found where she probably went in, Jim and I drove. Do you see this ramp here? It's coming off a bridge, and it's coming toward the canal. So Jim and he drove, and I took a video of it. This is a really sharp turn, which makes me think she purposely, sped up and just easily drove right into it, or it was an accident. Or I don't know what, because this was a really hairpin turn. Like, I was nervous when he was driving. And so if it was her last bridge and a suicide, it made me appreciate even more Seneca Falls, because that's where a woman attempted suicide in 1917 by jumping off this bridge, and a man went in to save her. He drowned, she lived, and supposedly that's where the story from It's a Wonderful Life was inspired by this, and this was, supposed to be the town. Well, I don't know if that's true, but this is what they say was the real Bedford Falls. And I thought, that movie always meant a lot to me, because after our daughter was born, she had severe brain damage. She was born in 1989. And I just was watching, it was right at Christmas time, so I'm watching It's a Wonderful Life, and I felt like George Bailey was saying, "Dear Father in heaven, show me the way, and at the end of my rope, show me the way, oh God." So on many levels, that movie meant a lot to me. So I was thrilled when we went to Seneca Falls and visited the museum, because the museum actually has suicide prevention materials in it. So I just think that's really nice that is a focus of their museum. And the movie director, Frank Capra, said, "I will deal with the little man's doubts, his curses, his loss of faith in himself, in his neighbor, in his God, and I will show the overcoming of doubts, the courageous renewal of faith." So I just thought, what a movie, not like some of the movies today. And Elizabeth's Law passed, and we were really excited. And that's thanks to a lot of people in the state who helped me promote the bill and get sponsors. And we did feel like George Bailey when he lassoed the moon, and that's us at their festival that they have. And we met, I don't know if any of you remember a little Zuzu in the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Well, here she is as a woman. And Jim and I met her, and I told her about our daughter and the bill passing, and she was genuinely thrilled. And the reason that museum has a suicide prevention message is because her son killed himself. And a lot of that memorabilia is hers. So that's just us, like, showing the bill pass, and it was really quite thrilling. And of course, I always love the song that you all know. And then I learned that it's not 15 miles on the Erie Canal. The original song was 15 years on the Erie Canal. So it was fun to hear the original recording of it. So I just had fun setting pictures to the words to the song. And there were so many things that I could relate to. And now I can really say I know every inch of the way from Albany to Buffalo. Like, Jim and I were really making sure, we might have missed those 2 inches the last time we were here. Let's go cover those, because there's no way I want somebody to say we didn't cover every inch. And so Low Bridge, everybody down, we can relate to that. Look at that. I'll show you that next bridge. You can always tell your neighbor, these are the kind of people we would meet on the trail. Look at this guy. Cats, birds. And I just thought that was interesting to learn that James Garfield, the president, he worked as a mule driver or hobby. And there, see, Jim, I bet your life I wouldn't part with Sal. See Jim holding little Sal? Oh, he was a good sport for these pictures. So I thought it was fun to go to Rome to see where the construction commenced. And then we went to see the Blob, the movie The Blob. So there's a big old theater in Rome. So like I said, we had a lot of fun along the way. See, Low Bridge, everybody down, how many people have you heard of getting stuck under this? And I believe this was this Oswego Canal or one of the other? It was one of the, Oswego Canal used to run under this bridge that people get stuck under. So it's a real thing. And that's my mom. We put my mom in a wheelchair because you can take the 1 mile challenge, which she did. I mean, we pushed her, so we should get the credit. But anyway, I wanted her to have the credit, so she got the credit. There's my little mugs. Of course, I have all kinds of Erie Canal stuff that I bought everywhere. There's Mark DeCracker, he put himself in front of one of his murals, singing as he sings and plays. This is down at the Syracuse Museum. Again, Low Bridge, I mean, we had to go under a lot of them. And a lot of my friends, when they visit us for Mystic, they no longer thought we were total losers because we were doing this. These are all my Mystic friends who actually would really sail and probably went around Cape Horn when I wasn't looking. I mean, so they didn't think we were adventurous or anything, but they tried to be supportive of this new goal of ours. So I just had a bunch of friends that would join us. And this is what I really wanted to know. Why couldn't I just bring my mom's wheelchair and Jim could push me back to the car? Like we walked one way and then Jim could push me back because it would still count as I got the actual miles, but he wouldn't do it. And I got so desperate, I wrote to a boating magazine, give Grandma and Grandpa a lift on the Erie Canal. So I tried, because I wanted them to, somebody give us a boat ride one way and then we'll walk back to the car. And I actually got somebody to respond to it. Oh yeah, we'll do it, like in Schenectady area. And then when it was time for us to be in Schenectady, he wouldn't answer my emails back. So he probably thought I was some crazy nut. So these are some of our good memories. Here's when we made the halfway mark, which we happened to do in Fort Herkimer Church. So that was about when that's not people's halfway, it's our halfway mile. So that was a great day when we finally reached half of our miles that we needed. Here we are celebrating in Niagara Falls after we finished the western end, which we didn't do until April 2025. That's Tonawanda here, and that's us in that nice little inn in Niagara Falls. This is our last day on the trail, April 23rd, 2025. We have our mule here. I thought, we're going to eat someplace special along the way. Well, all we could find was a Subway, but it had a bathroom, and it was air conditioned, so there you go. It was great. And we did it. We had friends meeting us there, and so they took video and pictures as we're coming, struggling, because that was like one of those, I think it was a 9-mile day for us. We're tired and hot, the mule's sagging, but they took all these little videos of us, and then I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe we made it. And this guy was standing by the sign, he's like, you just walked from Buffalo? I'm like, yes! And I didn't tell him it took us 5 years. Of somebody thinking we were really special, because I lost it with my Mystic friends, but I think that guy, and he found me, by the way, on Facebook and said, was that you? And I go, yeah, but it took me 5. I was so glad I had the chance to confess. So these are the friends that met us, and then we ate at like the second oldest building in Albany. It was so cool and such a celebration. And the next day, I went to the Capitol, and I brought my little rocks and information on CB, because I want the legislators to pass a new law to test every newborn for it. And that'll catch the kids that they don't realize until later that they're losing their hearing, and then they can get this antiviral. So I just dropped in on them, and I looked, like that, kind of messy, and the legislator because I just dropped in on people, and the main legislator behind the bill looks at me, she goes, I thought you were going to look different. I go, what do you think I was going to look like? She goes, I don't know, like a business suit. And so I look, like sweating and looking horrible. And she goes, well, let's take a picture, but not of your bottom. You know what I mean? So here like this, like cover my teeth, so I can look a little bit more dignified next to her little plaques. So we took some pictures. I got my certificate, because I just put the picture, upload the picture, say we finished, they believe me, and I got my little certificate. And they put this little banner over your picture, which I thought was thrilling. So I'm here to encourage you that you can join us all, and even if you just want to do a mile, like my mom, she was honored by the Canal Way Challenge people. There she is. Her picture was in the newsletter. And I am this Canal Way Challenge ambassador. Like she wrote, does anybody want to be ambassador? I'm like, yes, because I've never had a whole title ever. So now I get to tell people I'm an ambassador. I get the t-shirt, and I can hand out little things, and I mail the stuff to people if they want it. I have some free stuff here. Anybody can take anything, even that big fat book that you want. And if you're a historical society that actually wants to hang some of these things, let me know. I'll send it to the people, and they'll send you stuff. So I just took my slideshow and made a little book out of it, just so we don't forget that we actually did this. And that is the end. And I just like certain scriptures that stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths, ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. And I actually think that's true. And this is why my next challenge will be, Laura, are you going to help me do the kayaking? Okay, she'll help me. And I'm just going to do 15 miles. Maybe just even do 1 mile. Well, I already did a mile, but I want to count new miles. So that's just a little bit about me. I'll leave it on this slide or this slide. These are the helpful guides. The one that the state sends you, you can download for free or order it for free, just pay shipping. Cycling the Erie Canal is another good one that you do buy, and that's in several bookstores. So there are online maps, Facebook groups. These are things that you'll wish you'll bring, like obviously trail mix, because hardtack just doesn't really work, at our age. And biodegradable toilet paper, I never used it, but Lori's husband's a hunter and he bought me some. So for those, I never needed it. Rechargeable cell battery, because your cell will die. Walking stick that you see Jim's there. Because we did need protection from dogs occasionally. He never hit a dog with it, but it was good to know we had it, because sometimes they would be loose. And I also carried mace, because 2 dogs, I thought they were going to kill us. They were that scary looking. The owner got them just in time. Now somebody said, oh, that's mean to do that to them. I'm like, well, I think it's mean to get ripped to shreds, by 2 dogs in the middle of nowhere. But anyway. Of course, socks, I told you why. Umbrella. Compass, believe it or not, we walked the wrong way once, because we thought, surely this is the way, and we didn't waste it, but it was a pain that now we had a gap because we walked the wrong way. So your cell phone does have a compass. So when in doubt, because husbands don't like to ask directions, so secretly, I just should have checked my phone to make sure we're going in the right direction. Disposable heat wraps, I bought them for my back. I would put them on my back, because like I said, 9, 10, I'm not in great shape, and sometimes my back was killing me. And I took Advil sometimes before a trip, but stupidly, I took Advil PM right before a walk, and I will never forget it. Because we were in a hotel, and we couldn't waste this time with me going back to bed. You know what I mean? So that was just one weary foot in front of the other until the PMness wore off. And I also do interviews for PAC-B TV. So here are some of the Erie Canal or people that shared information about the canal that I've interviewed. If you ever want to check out, do a search, you would find people that are interesting. And that's the end of my show. Does anyone have any questions?
Hey,
Yeah, good. I told people you better have a question.
believe it or not, it's not historical.
Okay.
But I've always wondered, there are many sections of the old canal, especially in the western part, where Route 31 and the thruway go right over where the old canal was. You're walking the barge canal.
On the western side, we are walking the barge canal, and on the eastern side, we are walking the barge canal for the most part.
Were those converged where you walked the old Erie Canal, or was it all one part?
We could see parts of the old, Jim would go, oh, there's, like, the best time to walk really is winter or fall, so you can see the ruins better, you know, if there's not a big sign. So we would see ruins, but I don't think we were ever on a real, right? We weren't ever like, nice, we were? Where?
The villas are on, locally, you're on the largest canal.
Which part in the west?
Yeah.
Do you mean, well, no, that's center. So the center is, you're really on the old canal. Yeah, you're walking like the expanded canal.
So it goes from Barge Canal to the Old Canal and back. Because I know in the Mohawk Valley, Erie Canal parallel the Mohawk River, so you'd be right next to both.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's a map that I would, because Jim and I were always arguing, are we on the next to the old, is this the new, is this the, and there's a guy who mapped it out, the 3 versions of the canal, so you could really see, and we'd be, that ditch, that was the old canal, no it's not, it's over there, and I don't know who was right most of the time, but if we had just pulled out, that's why you need your charged cell phone recharger, because you could really tell a lot with that, you know, with that little map this guy made. Is that it? Ah, yes.
I just have a comment. I'm embarrassed to say, I've never heard of CMV.
Oh, most people haven't, which is why I wanted there to be a law. It is, like, it's not even just the leading viral cause, it is a leading cause of birth defects. You know, like, as kids have autism, people are like, why is that? Well, they came out looking normal, but nobody knew they had, the mom caught CMV. It only passes the placenta like half the time or something. And if you've already had it before, chances are it's not going to do as much damage, you know, because there's different strains of it. But doctors don't want to frighten you, and the problem is that I didn't know I was sick. Most moms don't realize they're sick, and they're just catching it probably from toddlers in their care. Because moms are a little sloppy with their own kids. They kiss them on the mouth, your child takes a sip from your cup, you're exhausted, you keep drinking from that cup. And so the mom, people like me, Elizabeth was very severe. So we knew right away when she was born, her brain was very small. But other people, they might not know until 2 or 3, their child has a slight learning disability or is learning hearing, and it's too late to find out if it was from congenital CMV. Because you have to test a baby within the first days of life. And so New York passed a law that if a child fails their, because when we lived in Connecticut, I got that to be the second state in the country to pass a law that if the baby fails their hearing test, you test them for CMV. Because there's an antiviral you can give that will halt the progression of the hearing loss and perhaps preserve some of the brain, or most of the brain, you know, from, anyway, I helped get that passed. An article was about it in the New York Times. A legislator in New York, the one who thought I looked like a slob, she read that and said, something's got to be done. So she got that done without all these mothers and doctors writing in. She, you know, so she did it easily. And then when I moved here, I said, okay, I'm glad we have that bill, but there's nothing that prevents it. Nobody's telling pregnant women, women at their first, you should really know about it before you get pregnant, but at a minimum, you should find out at your first prenatal visit, at a minimum. But it's, like I said, you can't tell anybody's sick, and most of the time it's not going to do any damage, so why worry? The mother's a million reasons, and daycare providers should be told they're not, because they are at increased risk. Nurses aren't, because nurses are constantly washing their hands, and they would, do you know what I mean? They're more careful than a daycare provider who's quickly changing diapers and running around and grabbing an apple. You know, it's a different situation, but nurses are no more at risk than the general population. But most women haven't heard of it. This is why I was looking for that epic adventure. Now, I still wrote a book in Mystic. I'm not going to waste all those months of blogging and preparing. So I still had a book, Mystic Seafarer's Trail. You know, it makes people laugh. Somebody actually wrote a screenplay for it because it's, you know, a disaster story. I mean, I always wanted our disaster to be like pirates got it. Yes, I brought a knife. I brought lemons in case we were cast to sea and had to, you know, I didn't want to die of scurvy. We brought everything, and it was not that big of a boat. You know, but anyway, but this we actually finished, but you know, really, how exciting is it that these grandparents are sitting there with sore knees walking for 5 years? So we're not like epic or anything, but it did help because I came down and gave all the legislators a Stop CMV rock. They put it on their desk, you know what I mean? It's a way to make them think about this.
How many days did you walk in a row today?
I think the most we would walk in a row is three. But unfortunately, we couldn't be like, oh great, let's walk 30 miles these 3 days, because day 2 and 3, we're dying from day 1. Do you know what I mean? So we would need to rest a lot. Because like I said, I think if we were in great shape, we could have just done it. Like I read a couple, they did it in like 30 some days. Now they did cheat and they took cabs through Syracuse and anywhere that was on road, they cheated. And I just didn't want that cheating feeling. You know what I mean? I just wanted to tell everybody I finished something for once. Because the only thing I ever did before this was win a pie eating contest in 4th grade. And I don't know. So to me, wearing this shirt is so exciting.
Where can people get your book?
You can get this on Amazon. It's an ebook and it's just this paperback, and it just has more information on the engineers. It has a lot of information on the pictures and hotels where we stayed at, and it has a silly poem in the back. I'm not a poet, so it's in the appendix, and I say read at your own risk, because I just think it's fun to rhyme stuff and some of our adventures and things. So it just has a little bit more stuff than the slideshow. You can get an ebook or paperback on Amazon. I know you're against it. You don't like, but it's super easy, that's why I do it.
Did you also do a book on CMV?
Yeah, I've done several books. I have like, I don't know, 10 or 11 books. So my book right before this I wrote was From Shock to Law, Had I Known About CMV. That's a very specific audience, because a lot of people want to know, how do you get a law passed? You know, because a lot of people running around screaming they're unhappy about things, but there's actually something you can do about it. But getting a law passed, I tried in 2014 in Connecticut after I found out, because I thought I had to get thin and famous to get people to pay attention to CMV. And because of my epic failure on the ship, because I didn't get thin or famous from that, because I jumped ship, I realized the law is the way to go, because that's how somebody, very average person, did it. So anyway, the first year I didn't get it passed because everybody says, oh yes, that sounds like a good idea, but nobody wants to do it because providing education can cost a little bit of money. Now you're making daycare providers and OBGYNs tell their patients, you know, whenever you're making somebody do something, you're gonna have opposition. And so I wrote that book. The first part is about her life and accepting it and working with it and enjoying life again. The second part is all about, okay, how do I make this like a law? Because I had a nightmare after she died where all these, I thought, what am I gonna do? She died, you know, I cared, she was like a 3-month-old. I did everything for her. And I felt so lonely and sad, and I had a dream, and in the dream, all these parents were sitting around the support group, much younger than me, and they with their little toddlers that had CMV, and they look at me, you've known about it for 16 years, because she lived for 16 years. And I was like horrified, and I woke up like in this horrible nightmare feeling, and I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do now. I can't take care of her, but I can try to prevent it from happening to other people. So that's why I tried getting thin and famous. That's why I tried doing all these crazy things. But the only thing that worked was a law. And then when I moved to New York and found out they needed a law too, I'm like, oh gosh, not again. Because this is a full-time job of pestering, repestering, getting all this information. And we had doctors on the trail. And I said, because they saw us placing the rock, and I told them what we're doing. They're like, well, what does that do to find out if the baby has it? Do you have any peer-reviewed articles that shows this antiviral works? And I said, I don't have them on me, but they exist. Do you want me to get your information? I'll send it to you now, you know. Because it's annoying to them because medical school's not really teaching it. Because like I said, these kids come out normal most of the time. So it's just one of these hidden things that needs to come out. And that's why I thought it was cool that women, for the women's rights movement, they were using both banners on boats and bicycles, you know, the women's rights stuff. And I was like, oh, what a cool idea. You had your hand up.
So who maintains the trails and?
What?
So I may have missed it early in, but who maintains the trail?
Maintains the trail?
And who sponsors it?
The National Heritage Corridor, it's that long name, does like the Canalway Challenge. Is it the highway? I don't know, maybe you know.
So each town is responsible for maintaining the trail, but there is the National Heritage Corridor also goes around and does major cleanup if there's bigger issues. But it's up to each town.
And one town, this guy in a town, like it's a problem, I don't really want to say what town, but
Oh, say it.
this is being recorded and he sounds like a scary guy, okay? Like I had to walk by myself in this section because I don't know, Jim's feet were wet and I was trying to, I don't know what, it's part of my, anyway, I walked ahead of him and it has like, you remember the Wizard of Oz, like I'd turn back if I were you, but they had like swear words attached to them. And I was by myself and I just felt scared. And I heard that he stops up part of the, like a culvert, or that, I'm using the words wrong, but that could have been the reason we were walking through a flooded area. But I don't know if that part is true, but I can tell you. And somebody said, oh, take pictures and put it on Facebook. I'm like, you know what, that guy's scary. I don't want this to be my thing. You know, that's not the hill I'm willing to die on. But for the most part, it was, like I said, it was a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of meeting those skinny, I tell you, those bicyclists are the skinny people. Because they take it seriously. Like if you say hi, like we even had one yell at us, get out of the way, you know, because they're serious. They're doing like, what, 40, 50 miles a day? Yeah, those people are serious, and Jim and I are just kind of like sauntering, you know, hobbling by the end of the day because we're in so much pain. And we didn't realize, what section was that in? There was a line down the road, and we didn't know walkers were supposed to be on one side and bikers the other. Because, I don't know, we're not from that area, we don't read the sign. I mean, yeah, we read a lot of signs, but not that one. He yelled at us, and Jim got really mad. I'm like, calm down, you know, we're never going to see this guy again. But anyway.
That's Tonawanda.
Tonawanda, that's where he yelled at us?
We were in the wrong.
Yes, we were in the wrong.
We had to be so hostile.
Yeah. So, but walkers are generally like us, you know, they're just sauntering around wondering where the next ice cream joint is, or where's the next beer. Is that it? Like I said, please take any of our flyers. They're from across the state, different sections of town. Some of it explain the Canalway Challenge. You can go online to look up the Canalway Challenge. We're going to have our grandson just do the 1 mile. I can't even get him to do that, but it's so easy because he could just walk half a mile, walk back to the car. Done. You know, and I showed him the sticker he can get. It's still not quite enough to really to do it. But my mother was pleased to get it, you know. Yeah, she got written up, and the newsletter for the National Heritage.
Thank you.